to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. Thank you so much for joining us for another hour of exciting and invigorating conversation that is truly meaningful to help us continue to transform our lives and transform the lives of those around us. Today, we are going to have a very interesting and exciting conversation with regards to the secrets to entrepreneurial success, love where you stand and serve. And you're going to absolutely find it amazing, the insights and the nuggets of wisdom Jennifer Conaway, my special guest, is going to bring for us. So let's get started. As we get started, let's take a moment and think about what is Goldilocks reminding us in terms of finding our center and using that center to stand where we are and serve so that our lives can thrive. Even as a little girl, Goldilocks knew how to influence others and get what she wants out of life. Every child, every little being, whether it's a puppy or a kitten, they all know how to wrap those around them, around their little finger, and be so adoringly inspiring and influencing that everybody does things for them, right? Even before children learn to talk, they've learned to influence. So we are born with this gift. Whether we become entrepreneurs, whether we become doctors, teachers, professors, doesn't matter, we have that gift in us. How did we forget to use it? And how do we go back and take a page from Goldilocks to recapture it? How do I show up not too hot, not too cold? How do I show up not too hard, not too soft? And how do I take perspective so that I understand my way is not the only way, right? Imagine I am sitting here and I draw a 6. Now, my guest Jennifer is sitting across from me at the table and she says, oh, but Cass, that is a 9. And so we can argue all day who's right. And now all of a sudden, magically, Robin, who has a way of seeing things from another perspective, she comes and she stands on the right side and says, oh my gosh, Jennifer and Cass, I don't think either of you are right. It's actually an alphabet in this other language. Look, this is what the alphabet looks like. We're all right and we're all wrong. It doesn't ultimately help us accomplish anything. And as entrepreneurs, we need to inherently understand that we need to take perspective and we need to be able to do things in a way that it lands for our target audience. It lands for our target market. And we truly show up in a way that we resonate for others, not just for ourselves. And our lasting success comes from that ability to take perspective and come from that centeredness so that we can influence as many people as possible for our own success. And the magic of that centeredness is that when we get our success, we also lift others up and everybody thrives. And the reason this works is because everybody is lifted, everybody wins, and we create a win-win partnership. That is the one thing that makes entrepreneurial success. Not doing it my way or the highway, not saying, oh, you don't know, and I'm the expert, and I'm brilliant in what I do, and you got to listen to me. No, it doesn't always land that way. So take a page, allow Goldilocks to sit on one of your shoulders and whisper, right? Find the center, take perspective, and now show up with your brilliance, but embrace the brilliance of others around you and together build a thriving business. So with that idea in mind, I welcome Jennifer Conway to our episode. Jennifer, welcome, my dear. You're muted. You're muted, Jennifer. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. But thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Dr. Cass. I'm so just honored that you invited me to share information with you and with your folks.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And the honor is mine. So as we get started, Jennifer, you have been a sought after expert in helping entrepreneurs take their brilliance and find their calling in a way that they're building a thriving business and not allow their brilliance get in the way of their own success. Because, you know, in our strength is also our weakness. Mm-hmm. And you have mastered that in terms of unleashing the potential in others. Tell us how you got into this space, because it's not an easy space to break into, and entrepreneurs don't always want to listen.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And even for myself, right, don't always want to listen. When I worked in corporate for a few years with Cisco Systems and was truly that round peg being jammed into the square hole, and thought, I just can't do this anymore. So with absolutely no business experience, no market experience, nothing, I decided I was going to go out into the world and be a coach. Mm-hmm. So I left Cisco, got a coaching certification, floundered around for about 3 years, no idea what I was doing, and basically crashed and burned. I mean, it was terrible. I had no idea how to talk to people or what was really getting in my way was the way I see the world, what makes me brilliant, you know, what works really well for my clients, but doesn't necessarily translate directly, because if other folks aren't seeing it, they don't understand your words. It seems it's very basic and very simple, and at the same time, not. But after the company failed, I went out and went to work for an online marketer who had a multi-million-dollar mastermind program. And I ran that program for about 7 years and was really honored to work with entrepreneurs. Those are the only people we served. And that allowed me to connect with entrepreneurs that were just starting, with entrepreneurs that had already made their millions, that were on their second or maybe their third business. But I really got to know them and got to see them, what was driving them, what was getting in their way. And I learned how to speak to them in a way that they can understand, not just what I was sharing from the program I was part of, but also understand how something was getting in their way. And I started to think about it, and I thought, wow, this is really what I'm good at. Like, I love to have these conversations. And from that, I figured, well, if I'm going to go out and talk to people about that, talk to entrepreneurs about that, I should probably learn how to actually run a business first. So spent some time doing that, and then left, and have been really, honored since I opened Conscious Business Answers to have people drawn to me, to be able to approach and share the information in a way that's honoring of who folks are. And really, it's all about meeting somebody where they are right now. And it just that can change the dynamic.
Absolutely. And what I love about your transformational journey is that you've done the hard work. You've learned through experience how to show up and where those points of reference for taking perspective are. And now you're taking your journey and repurposing it for every one of your clients, but in a meaningful way for them, because you have learned that just because it's meaningful to you, it doesn't mean it's going to be meaningful for somebody else, right? And that is truly the wisdom the transformation has provided. So I'm absolutely loving how this journey has come about. So let's talk about what are some of the things that hold people back as entrepreneurs, because they're taking all the risk. It's all their idea. And it's easy to want to control everything. And even if we are good at everything, there is not enough time in the day to do it all. And so what are some of the things you're seeing that they are doing that they need to shift away from? Because step number one towards fixing challenges is to identify our challenges, right?
Right.
I'm a believer in the 12-step program. Step one is to say, I'm Kasturi Henry and I'm an alcoholic. If I don't go through that step, I don't get to go through the rest, right?
Right.
I jokingly say that. So what are some of the things you're seeing that you'd like for people to kind of, I do that, I need to stop?
That's a fabulous question. And it's actually, when I have a conversation with somebody, it's usually because something isn't feeling quite right in the business, or they're stuck somewhere and they can't figure out, why am I so stuck? Or they're going, I just don't have enough time in the day to get anything done. So once we've established, I have a problem. So first, for a lot of entrepreneurs who've been told, you have to do this yourself, you have to know all the answers, you have to know how to move this forward, just being able to say, I need help can be a really big hurdle for folks. So that's the first thing. And once we get there, there are a couple of different things that we'll look at. And some of them are as simple as, you are absolutely too busy every day. You have so many things you're trying to do. You're trying to do the marketing. You're trying to do get whatever content it is that's out there. You're trying to do your social, all these pieces. So my question to you then is, well, what actually does make you brilliant? Which part of this is the thing that you truly love to do? Hopefully it's the content delivery for your business and getting that message out. But that means that these other things you're doing, like marketing, like accounting, are not your strength. So identifying a way to give them to somebody else, to give somebody else permission to do them for you, is huge. And it's again, this is your baby, this is your business. And the strongest thing you can do is give somebody permission to help you. So there's that piece of it. And then the thing that I find that also happens is, okay, you've really taken that step. You've given the marketing to somebody to do, and you're watching them do it. And you're thinking, no, I could do it better. It was better when I was doing it. Was it? Or is it just that you're so used to doing it in a certain way that you want somebody else to do it the same way you were doing it, which it's not always the best way. And we forget that. It's a couple of things. It's a little bit of fear of change, right? So if you're doing it one way all the time, you bring somebody else in to help you out and they want to do it differently. So you have to give that different way a chance to work and let it be okay that it's not your way, because that's what they are brilliant at. And you're brilliant at something else. So use those two things, let them work with each other. Don't go for your version of perfection and let go of control a little bit.
That is brilliantly said, because there are two takeaways there, right? Allow what you're brilliant at to surface and be freed up by letting go of control.
Yes. Yes.
And so I take the sports analogy. I may be Michael Jordan, but the entire team cannot be played by one person,
Yes.
no matter how brilliant they are. And if he's the only one who showed up for the games, the whole team is disqualified because they don't have the players on the field. And can't play every position the same way. Shift from basketball to baseball. A catcher cannot play like a hitter who cannot play like a first baseman. So we have to understand that every position can be played differently. And the uniqueness of the player is what makes the team thrive. And if we watch who wins the Super Bowl, it's never the people with the strongest players.
Yes.
It's the people who can play with their heart and who love playing with each other and who have that chemistry, that they can bring it all to bear and be better than they are individually. Because they love what they do and they love doing it together. And so therein lies the trick. How do we put the right people and create the right chemistry? And the good leader knows how to get out of the way. A good leader knows how to get out of the way. So how do you help these entrepreneurs understand that, yes, you are brilliant, let your brilliance shine, and hire the right people and get out of their way so that they can serve you and share their brilliance with the world?
That's a good question. And, that's one of the things I really approach very individually with each entrepreneur. And at the same time, there are, we're all human, right? So there are common things you see. And one of them is just the person who has this giant vision for their company. And really what makes them brilliant is that ability to see that huge vision for their company, right? And what quite often happens is that they've got this huge vision. So they go and they say, this is my goal. It's a giant goal. And I want to have 15 books, just for example, 15 books published in the next year, and they're all going to, be New York Times bestsellers. But what they don't have necessarily the brilliance at is being able to look down and see all the little individual tasks that have to be done. And sometimes it's as complicatedly simple as starting to look at some of those tiny tasks and have them go, I don't want to create that schedule. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that, because those aren't the things that they're brilliant at. And to them, it's a distraction that will simply get in the way. And at the same time, owning a business is like building a house. If you build a house from the ground up, it's a labor of love. Well, so is building your business. But the common thing is every business needs a foundation. And that foundation is simple, and that you have tools in place, you have systems in place that allow things to happen automatically, that make it almost seem organic to people looking in. And once you have those things in place, then you can grow. You can put the walls in place. You can put the drywall in place. And now you get to put the fabulous, beautiful furniture in there. And that furniture, those are these great big things that you're out here building. But what's happening is now these things that you're putting into the house, they're showcased. They're not just a one-off that's kind of sitting over here in the yard somewhere you can't really see. Instead, when your clients come in to see you, there's the showcase book, there's the showcase signature program, there's the showcase talk that you do all the time. And they have this beautiful structure around them that allows you as the brilliant business owner to really shine as yourself, to really give everything you can possibly give and know that you have this beautiful foundation holding you up. And often what I'll find is that people haven't taken the time to build the foundation because it can be a little tricky, and it can take a little bit of time, effort. It's usually more detailed work. It's usually work that really isn't your gift, but pieces of your gift are embedded in all of it. So now when I, as a client, come to you and I see that beautiful book in your house, I can get the book and I'm supported in so many ways that I'm drawn to you. And I can see your brilliance without any other clutter around it.
So removing that distraction with the foundation, that is key.
It's key. I've worked with entrepreneurs that have pieces of that structure in place. And it's really fascinating because they're successful to a point.
Mm-hmm.
And they start to hit a ceiling because they don't have the full foundation in place. They've got part of it. So it's kind of like you have the foundation for your living room and the foundation for your kitchen, but you don't have any way to get from the living room to the kitchen. Mm-hmm. So rather than having a cohesive way for your client to move through your programs, you have individual satellites out there. So that foundation will help to really tie everything together.
Mm-hmm. So I see the picture you're painting, and there are two different scenarios I want us to talk through. One is even when an entrepreneur is willing to bring these other experts in to help build the foundation, there are so many predators out there who will show up in a very easygoing, very attractive, influential way. Start taking money and never delivering any results. And when you call them on it, they'll say, okay, I will do the next 3 months free, but they still never produce. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is the entrepreneur is just getting started. They're terrified of losing money. So they don't want to pay because they don't look at the good support as investment, just like we have to pay to go to school to get an education to use that knowledge to do a craft, right? But people don't look at entrepreneurship as that avenue where I have to invest, because it's that investment that's going to get me the right people to build the foundation for me to thrive. So you have those two extremes and then everything in between. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs in terms of navigating both those extremes and finding that sweet spot in the middle?
Yeah, it's fun. And a couple of things for when you're really ready to commit to, say, hiring a marketing person, just because I know for so many people, marketing is, it's crucial, but it's a thorn for a lot of us. So I had to learn it too. So I was there. But I think first get really, really clear on what you want. So that means, do you want somebody to help you with social media? Do you want somebody to come and take a look at your business and say, this is everything that you need? Now let's prioritize it and start with the first one and go through the list. Do you want somebody that, say you are a great creator of content and know that you need to get your content out on social media? Do you just want some help with that? So first get really, really clear on what it is you want. Then take a look and be really brutally honest with yourself. Who is it that you work best with? Not who is it that it's easy for you to work with? Because frequently the person it's easy to work with, it might be easy because they're just doing everything that you say and not really bringing anything to the table. So having somebody that's willing to challenge you in a loving, gentle way that makes you feel held and seen is super important. But be honest with yourself, and then don't just hire the first person that comes along because they sound good. Take the time to really talk to 3, 4, 5 people, if that's what it takes. And make sure that they see you, that they see who you are, who you're trying to connect with, how you like to speak your brilliance, whether it's through coaching programs or training programs or live events. You want somebody that really wants to get to know you, and then will take whatever program, because so many people want to put you into the box of their program. Put whatever program they have, they will morph to meet your needs, right? Because we have so much out there. It's like, oh, just do my system, it'll work for you. Do this system, it'll work for you. Do that system, it'll work for you. And what I have always found is missing, and what I think is a tragedy in the personal development, online business development world, is that there are so many strategies out there with people saying anybody can do these and be successful. Anybody can fit in this box and be successful. And I have not found that to be the case. I have found that if you have the courage to take a look at a program, take what really works for you, shift the rest, then you can use parts of a program that really work for you. So there's that piece. It's having the courage, and hire slow, fire fast. I'm just, right? How many times have we heard that? But it is crucial when you're bringing people on to help you, really take the time to talk to them. And honestly, if there's something in your gut that just says, oh, this sounds good, but I just don't think there's not quite right, then move on to the next person. And when, your gut agrees with your head and you're like, oh, they see me, they really feel good to me, then that's the person to take your time with and really work with. But the other piece to that is put in place goals, right? Don't just, it's okay for somebody to build an lead magnet or a freebie for you that should attract all these people, but pick a number, even if it's 10 the first week that it's out and 50 the next month that it's out. But if you have goals in place, then it's easy for both you and the person you're working with to say, this is working or it's not. We need to shift something or we don't, right? So that.
And one of the things I have seen is some people promise numbers and deliver numbers. But you need more than numbers. It's not the quantity, you need quality, right?
Right.
So are you getting the right numbers for the right follow-up behavior? Or are you getting numbers for getting numbers?
Yes.
And knowing that and understanding that, and when the provider starts changing the goals, that you already agreed, that is a warning sign. That is
Absolutely.
a warning sign to say, you know what, this is not working.
Mhm.
And if they start pushing other softwares and other platforms and buy this, buy this, buy this, then ask the question, are they getting commissioned for all of this? And are they truly using you to make more money instead of helping you grow your business?
Mhm.
There are
Absolutely.
all these warning signs to look at, and I love the tips you have given. Now let's shift to the other end, people
Yep.
who don't want to pay and expect everything to be given free. And at some point, people say, you know what, enough. I've given enough for free. I can't give anymore. And if everybody has to give things free, then
Mhm.
those other people are going to go out of business. And
Right.
what are some of the, even if you don't have money, there are ways there can be exchanges, right?
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
how are some of those things coming to life? And
Mhm.
what is the best way to build that win-win partnership?
Mhm.
Because nobody wants to keep giving for no reason. I mean, it's
Yeah.
human to want reciprocation, and you can't empty somebody who's
Mhm.
willing to help because now they can't help themselves. It's almost like putting the mask in the plane, right? Put your mask on first, then turn around and help the child.
Mhm.
Don't take the mother's mask and breathe and then kill the mother, right?
Right. 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 Absolutely. And this is, so I live in an area of North Carolina where we're known for, uh, we have a lot of healers. We have a lot of people that are in energy work, that follow all of those lines. And there seems to be a pervasive feeling within that culture that you are more spiritually in touch if you're not making any money. And to this, it doesn't make any sense to me, but I've kind of put it together. And it's fascinating. What I've said to somebody is just like you with the putting the mask on. I had someone coming to me and she's, oh, I want to feed 5 million people. I want to feed 10 million people. So that's great. So, but I'm only charging, $15 an hour. So I can barely get my electric bill paid and I'm having trouble paying the rent. And I said, well, okay. So you're charging $15 an hour, giving money away, not able to pay your rent. That's not good for anybody.
Mhm.
What if you could shift your mindset and realize the value of what is really brilliant about you and start charging $100 an hour, work with slightly different people, but now you're starting to build a base or a framework where you can now build a shelter that feeds 100 people every night, every night. So shifting your mindset gets to be really important. And that's the same thing with people who are like, I don't want to spend any money to build that foundation. I'm just going to do what's free from all of these different people. Right. So a couple things there. You're pulling from various different groups doing, Amy's freebie and Jennifer's freebie and Brendan's freebie. But there's no cohesion between what you're doing. So you're actually, like the satellites I talked about, you're actually sending satellites out there that aren't talking to each other, that are hitting different target markets. Whereas if you said, okay, I'm going to focus on one thing, and I'm going to bring somebody in to help me with one piece of my business so that that is working really, really well. The exponential benefits of doing that will far outweigh any concerns you had about spending money in the beginning. It's, there's also that other saying, you have to spend money to make money. Yes, you don't have to spend $50,000, but spending a little bit to get the kind of expertise you need in a door so that it's done well, it's done right, will pay off dividends tremendously in, at the end of the day. And there are really ways to make it a win-win. If you really don't have the money to spend, there could be some kind of barter in place, where, I don't know, if you're a copywriter, maybe the person you're bringing in to help you needs help with their copy. So you can barter something like that. I've had people do, it's like a future joint venture. So while in a joint venture, someone may want you to have a list of, say, 1,000 people. If your list is only 100 today, that's fine. But as soon as your list hits that 1,000 in 6 months or in a year, whatever it is, we're going to joint venture together. And it's worth enough for whoever the expert is for them to wait to do that. Mm-hmm. And, there's absolutely nothing wrong with an entrepreneur standing their ground and saying, I really can't help you with this for free. I can't help you with this for a joint venture, but maybe there's a payment plan we can work out. Maybe the thing is, open the conversation from a space of, we can do this together. Mm-hmm. And really approach it with that mindset. And then most of the time you can figure something out.
Absolutely. If everybody is coming from a place of shared prosperity, there is always a way to figure it out.
Yes, absolutely.
And with that exceptional guidance, I'm going to open this up for a conversation. So Catherine, I see you're joining us from the UK. Welcome. I'm sure you have questions and thoughts to add, so go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Welcome. I'm bringing the coast and sunshine to you guys. And I really apologize for being late, but I'm glad that I got to hear what I heard. And Dr. Kaz, huge congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Very honored.
It's fantastic. I've been smiling all day and doing sort of rain dances for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I so appreciate that.
I love how serendipity works. I have been able to hear what I've heard because I've been building my company for quite some time, and I'm glad that I've experienced all the things I have. I should be quite glad when I get, I think, more powerful results. But it's very easy when you don't know your subjects to fall down some pretty drastic holes. So I don't know whether I've probably got lots of questions, but I just really appreciate Jennifer's honesty and clarity. And I now know that there really are people out there who really want to support those of us who genuinely are not operating in ego. And so I really appreciate you, Kaz and Jennifer. And if you just give me a few minutes, I probably will think of a question, but.
No worries, we'll come back. We'll come back. Think about your questions and jot them down. Go ahead, Robin.
All right, thank you so much. This has been so interesting. And a question I have from a comment that you'd made about clarity, that the people have to, the business owner has to have clarity. Once you have the clarity, then you can say, okay, you have only a partial foundation, or you don't have any foundation, or, et cetera. I love your analogy, by the way. Only back up. Also, congratulations, Cass. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I meant to say that the very first thing out of my mouth. I forgot. So coming back to, I love your analogy of a house having a foundation, then building your walls, remodeling, etc. So, but the foundation, under the foundation, is having clarity. if you're not clear about what is it that I want, then everything else will be a muddle. So my question is, how do you go about helping people get clarity about what is it that I want? Strip away all the extraneous, flies buzzing around your head and a million things to do and sticky notes piled up here and there. So how do you go about within the people that you work with? How do you help them get to a point of clarity so then they can move forward in a less haphazard way?
Perfect question. And this is, I do find frequently that people struggle with that clarity piece. There are a couple of ways to go about doing it, depending a little bit on where your business is. One of the first questions I always ask people is, what is it that you absolutely love to do at the end of the day? Love to do. And I don't care if it's your personal or your business. What is it that you love to do? And not, oh, I would do it and never get paid for it. Nah. What do you love to do? Right. And the thing about asking that question is that it gives me keys into your personality. So into the things that provide peace for you, into the things that are you're passionate about, even into the ways that you love to deliver content. It will identify who your target market is quite frequently, help you get clear on that. So, if you're at home today and you decide you want to get more clear, I would really ask myself, okay, what is it that I really, really love to do? So if I'm struggling with something and I think, oh, I wish I could go do this, what is that thing that you love to do? Now, take a look at that thing. Say it's, I cross stitch. All right. So I do these big, obnoxiously large, complicated cross stitch things with little teeny tiny boxes and stuff. So if I'm honest and I ask myself, okay, why is it that I like to do that? It's because it gives me space to think about absolutely nothing else. I have to be 100% focused. So, okay, what does that tell me about myself? That tells me that I need space to be really, really focused and not distracted. When I think about my business, what is it that I love to do? I love to train, get in front of, whether it's 2 people or 25 people, I really love to train. Okay. So that also tells me that group trainings are probably a really good thing for me to consider doing. And then, I also really love to work one-on-one with people. So it's kind of, you start to create a string of things that you love to do. And now, if we know there's group coaching, if we know I definitely need to have space, some quiet space on my own, and I love to do, say, one-on-one work with people, having a business that requires me to be out the door networking from dawn until dusk every day, probably not going to work really well for me. So, you start to be able to really drive down into what it is that feels good for you. When you're thinking about the kind of clarity that you need, what kind of clarity are you thinking about?
That's a good question. Well, I think that what I would say is, what is it that I want? What is it that I want to accomplish within my business?
Mhm.
What picture do I see for my either current or near, both near future and distant horizon? What do I see? But I love what you've said so far. Is start out with what do you love to do, and that pairs very nicely with Cass's diagram that she shares. What do I love? What am I good at? What does the world need? And so maybe looking at it from that frame, frame, but tying it with what you said. And then, but I also like what you said in terms of by identifying what you love and then drilling down, then you can say, why is it that I love it? I need to have space, or I need to be focused, or whatever. You can do that. So, but I guess it's for me, it's clarity of what do I want to bring to the world, and what do I love doing. So I guess it's two of the pieces that Cass has mentioned in.
Yeah. And sometimes, honestly, I think we make it too complicated. There are so many books out there about identify your purpose, identify your this, identify your that. It doesn't have to be that hard. At the end of the day, every time we come in contact with somebody, every time we go out into the world, we're impacting the world around us, right? So even if your purpose isn't to go out there and end world hunger, if your purpose is to carry a light with you every day, and that light goes with you out into the world, you're impacting every person that you run into. And people may never say anything to you. You may never get direct feedback that folks are seeing that light, but it's having an impact. And a good example of that is I'm something over 50 now. And when I was 50, I decided to learn how to ride a motorcycle. And I went out and I took a class and I did all these things. And then I bought this beautiful cherry red and chrome motorcycle that was really loud. And I love every minute of it. To this day, I love being on my motorcycle. But what happened was 10 months, 12 months after that, somebody I sort of had a relationship with came to me and said, I know you're a lot older than I am, so yay. But I never thought that I would be able to learn to ride a motorcycle at this age. And because you did it at your age, I feel like I can go out and do it now. And I've watched you do it and have so much fun with it. This person had never said a word to me about this before. But it's the same thing that happens when you have your light with you all the time and carry your brilliance with you. So, do you have to have a plan to solve world hunger? No. But I would venture to bet that there's something that you're doing that is taking your light, your brilliance out there every day. And the question is there a way for you to magnify that at all?
Yeah, beautiful. Great question. I mean, great answer, and great, questions in return. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pass the baton back to Catherine if you've thought of a question.
Thank you, Robin.
Robin, that was a great question. Thank you. Yeah, Jennifer, it came up a lot this week for me with working with people, and I'd love to hear your take on this. When people are beginning to understand how capable they are, mm-hmm. but that doesn't necessarily mean so they're able. I won't add any more to that. I just want to see what, whether you have experience of the real difference and what do you do with it when people are wanting to go forward.
So I want to be clear on the difference between capable and able. Okay,
so I work with a lot of very chronically ill people who are enormously capable.
Mm-hmm.
They've been lawyers or bankers or whatever, and they, in their spirit and in their emotional state, they are still capable, but actually their body, their physicality is saying, at the moment you are not able. And I'm a really good example. So I know that I will not be able to achieve what I need and want to achieve, and I say need because it lights my fire and I'm good at it. I won't be able to achieve it if I go on what I'm capable of and what people know I'm capable of. I actually have to build a foundation of where I'm going to go and how I'm going to go there on actually what I'm really consistently able to do without crashing. And it's just so happens I had a whole lot of people this week who are just at the end of their tethers because they absolutely cannot drive themselves from their capabilities. And they have to go from what am I actually realistically able to do?
I think when I think about that, the analogy I think of is building a brick wall. You don't build it all in 2 minutes by taking all the pieces and just throwing them together and boom, you've got a wall. You have to build them one brick at a time.
Yeah.
So if you're only able to take one brick and put it down this week, that's great. You're still building your brick wall.
Yeah.
And getting excited about and celebrating each individual brick in that wall, and knowing that at the end of the day, you will have built the wall that you want there. And hopefully, maybe you've built up a little bit more resilience in your body, depending on what the disease is, or maybe you always will have to build your brick wall just one little brick at a time. But still, each brick is worthy of a celebration.
Brilliant question. And I love where you took the answer, Jennifer. And it reminds me, I'm currently living and working in the Caribbean in the country of Belize. And it's a developing country. How do people build homes in developing countries? Every month when they get a paycheck, they go and buy a few concrete bricks.
Yes.
They get the land and they put a tent and they first build the kitchen because everybody has to eat. They start barbecuing outside. Then when they can get sufficient bricks, they build the kitchen. Then they start collecting money and build a room for the women in the house. The men can sleep outside on a hammock because thank God it's tropical, right? So watching poor countries, people who don't have anything, but who have the aspiration, who have the commitment, build things is truly a blueprint for us as entrepreneurs to build our business. Rome was not built in a day. God didn't make this world in one day, right? So how do we build it piece by piece, and how do we rejoice and celebrate and still enjoy it while we're building? So they plant the flowers first. They have all these tropical things that are beautiful and engaging, and you don't feel too bad that the house is getting built brick by brick over 5 years.
I love that. Love that. That's beautiful.
I think it's sorry, Cassie.
Such an amazing conversation. I am hopeful that you ladies are going to continue this conversation behind the scenes. I will make sure I make the connection. But we do have to bring this show to a close because we have the time we have. But as I bring this to a close, I want us to remember every human interaction is our opportunity for transformation.
Mhm.
So go out there, meet people, transform lives. And as Jennifer said, take your light, let your light shine. And as others are transformed, you're going to find that you too are being transformed. So go out there and make this world a better place and live in the spirit of Goldilocks to find your center, find your perspective, and make this a better place than we found it.
Is beautifully said, Dr. Cass. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's such an honor.
Thank you.